Welcome to Conversations with Deborah, a bi-coastal dialogue with myself, Malcolm Berman, and Deborah Manning, heard exclusively on malcolmpresents.com. Welcome, Deborah.
Hey, how are you today, Malcolm?
I'm okay. I'm preparing, as you see with the background and the whole thing, I'm preparing to leave this damn planet.
You were too funny. I left California, a native of California, 5.5 years ago, and I came here to South Carolina. You have outdone me. You are on your way out to the moon or wherever.
I don't know the moon. I have to find out an inhabitable planet where I don't have to, live in a house that has oxygen or something. I wanted something that I can be on the outdoors, uh, breathe the air, because as I'm getting old, I'm getting more claustrophobic.
That's understandable. Now, don't tell me they've decided because of the COVID variant. Is it the Delta variant or something?
The Delta.
That they're now asking. Your dear Governor Newsom is now asking for everybody to be re-masked again in Los Angeles and LA County. Is that right?
Not that I know about. What they are asking is if you're going to a large group that's indoors to wear the mask, and that's basically to protect the people who didn't want to be vaccinated from getting COVID, because you also, from what I understand, even though we're vaccinated, we don't have it, we can't transmit COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So we want the other people who didn't, who are not vaccinated, to not get it. Because I mean, what will happen? These viruses can regenerate. I mean, they want to live.
Yeah.
So what they do is that they have variants. The more people that have it, the more variances there are.
There you go.
So I mean, it could be, now it's Delta, which supposedly we're protected against, but who knows what will happen in 6 months?
Well, it's like the flu variant and
but if the COVID-19 is still around, who knows what the variants will be, in 6 months.
Well, at least I have heard. In fact, it was funny. I got a chance to see my doctor. This is the second time in 6 months. It's been wonderful. And she was very happy. She had run a blood test and she was very happy the way things were. And I'd lost my COVID weight and blah, 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 and all of that. And I asked her about the Delta variant. And as a physician, she said that, obviously she was concerned about the Delta variant, but she did say this. She said that the Delta variant, although it is part of the COVID family, that in fact, it's not resulting in a lot of hospitalizations and a minimal number of deaths. I mean, any death is horrific, but it certainly isn't as potent and as dangerous as the first wave of COVID-19. Of course, it would be nice to find out how exactly it was engineered, or maybe it wasn't engineered by China, but it would be nice if maybe China might possibly cooperate by maybe letting people in to find out, since, I mean, we did fund the NIH did fund quite a bit of COVID variant research. So it would be kind of nice to see how our money was spent. So.
It would have been nice to know if I went up to Elon Musk or Bezos and asked him for a loan to project this show and my malcolmpresents.com, if he would say, hey, Malcolm, you have a great idea. You're doing a public service, and I'd like to give you $10 million to give your show a boost.
Well, you don't have the magic name, Malcolm. If you were a Malcolm Biden, you would have the magic name and you would have plenty.
But according to everybody, I should do it. I'm Jewish,
Oh, there you go.
I know how to make money, and I have a pact with the devil, actually.
That's right. That's in your genes, huh?
That's in my genes. Ask Fish. He knows.
Oh, Lordy.
We have the same, secret society.
All right.
As a matter of fact, we let Hillary in, so we could work. We could do pedophile with the children. But
well, it was funny that I did realize that apparently Facebook now, and I did receive one of the secret messages which says, "Have you been contacted by extremists?" By extremists? If you have, please go ahead and press this button, and we'll find a safe spot for you. So apparently, I don't know what they're considering to be extremists, but now you have an opportunity thanks to Facebook, of reporting extremists. Now, I'm not really quite sure what that means. Maybe it means Republicans. Maybe it means people who differ with various accepted wokeism ideas and what have you. But I do find it interesting that our First Amendment speech monitor is now Facebook. Of course, it has been for quite some period of
Yeah.
time, but now it's quite overt.
Well, we never really had free speech.
Oh,
That's
for
a
heaven's sake.
misnomer. No, we
We-
couldn't say, we couldn't yell fire in a movie theater. That was against the law. We couldn't do libelous type of things. We'd be sued for defamation. That's free speech. Free
Well,
speech.
just because you can get sued for saying something doesn't mean that you can't exercise free speech.
Yeah, but
for heaven's sake.
I couldn't curse on, I can curse over here. I can do any of the words I want, but I can't do it on network television.
Well,
I mean, why can't I say the words?
I have no idea. Ask
That's-
George Carlin. Remember that wonderful bit of George Carlin
Right.
where he had, how many words were there that you couldn't say and he put them all together in one wonderful sentence?
The 7 words.
It was great.
And I'm not sure what they are, but I'll tell you one thing, which since the pandemic,
Mhm.
people are cursing more.
You think
I-
so?
Yeah, I know even my wife, was a curse.
Anna
yeah,
is cursing more?
Right,
Oh my
right.
heavens.
But what I notice also when I speak to people out on the street, even when I speak to young people, and I speak to everybody, as you know,
Of course.
the word that they use, everything, which was forbidden when I was a teenager and even till recently, the word fuck. People are using that more now than I've ever heard, and people of all walks of life. At one time, it was, the uneducated, so to speak. Now, the college kids are using it, and they're using it in mixed company, even, families, they're using it. To me, I am still shocked by it.
Well, I think the level of frustration demonstrated over this past year, where we had a lot of misinformation from healthcare officials. We've had a lot of misinformation thanks to the mass media. We've had censorship from Facebook, from Google, from Twitter. I think people are very, very frustrated, and we're really starting to see that now. And I think, it's just simply a story that you're giving me, but I'm seeing it as well. People are very angry, and I understand why. I know my husband Fish is extremely angry. In fact, he's not on the show because right now he's out chopping wood, which seems to be quite an antidote for anger and frustration, especially here in South Carolina. It's also great for our fire pit, so there are some benefits.
I'll tell you what's good, what I have, what my son bought me. I forget whether it was my birthday, Christmas, or what. It's called the heavy bag that you see the boxers use.
Oh, yes.
And you put on a pair of gloves, and
Oh,
I have
yes.
like the LMA gloves,
Yes.
and I have I think it's like a 70, 80-pound bag,
Mhm.
and I do 3-minute rounds, and I'm just punching.
Yep.
I'm punching and punching.
Yep.
And I also do kicking because I did, years ago, I took up kickboxing, which I love,
Yep.
which if it wasn't for my bad back and I can't raise my legs high anymore, I think I do kickboxing. But anyway, I think parts of the problem we have is we have the 24-hour news. And what happens with that is you see an event, something happens, and then they have to fill up the other time. So everybody is giving why this event happened. They're starting to say, well, it could be. They're not giving facts, they're giving opinions. Now, this is both sides. And it's not only to the left, it's to the right. Both of them have their experts saying what this is, and they don't have any facts. All they're doing is they're filling up time.
That's right.
If they don't say, okay, we don't have any facts, and we'll, get the facts to you. When we have the facts to you, we'll let you know. No. Well, this was caused by, if it wasn't for, Trump, if it wasn't for Biden, if it wasn't for the Republicans, if it wasn't for the Democrats, if it wasn't for, the Chinese, if it wasn't, they're looking for someone to blame.
Mhm.
And then
once again, it goes back to the whole theme that you and I have been talking about for quite some period of time: personal responsibility.
Yeah.
You have personal responsibility for your own happiness. You have personal responsibility for your home life. You have personal responsibility for the people around you. I mean, that's one of the reasons that my husband and I, with our two cats at the time, decided to leave California because it became untenable for us to be able to stay. Economically, we could not afford to wait and wait.
Ergo, you see my background.
What's that? Oh, yes, I know.
Because
But
because I had a show, we had a show the other day with Maxine on the Many Shades of Green,
mhm,
and we're talking about weather, just me and
yes,
her. And she sent me an article today about the weather throughout the whole world is going to be unbearably hot. And they had, I think, up in my part of the world, in Spokane and Portland, the weather got 115, 116, unheard
yeah.
of in
We have,
Canada.
Fish has a daughter, his eldest daughter, who's up in Portland. And it's really been something. We called to make sure that she was okay, and she's perfectly fine. But now Portland is running out of fans, and of course they don't have air conditioning. As for example, when we were living in California, we didn't have air conditioning because we were in Santa Barbara. And of course, when did you need air conditioning? We noticed quite a change in 2005. I mean, the drought that's been going on for a long, 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 long time. One of the things that I found was fascinating about California, and I could not understand it, was that, for example, in Santa Barbara, Lake Cachuma was being drained, even though we had a situation where we needed water for human beings. And it was being drained, unfortunately, for a salamander and a little fish. Now, I appreciate salamanders and little fish, but I do appreciate people a lot more. So in terms of the values of things, I do think that it's quite amazing. California continues to let loose its reservoirs, which is its water storage, to be able to protect salamanders and salmon and et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
And people are having terrible situations. Apparently up in Central California, they don't have irrigation for any of the crops. And yet I know we're saving the fishes and we're saving the little trouts. And
well, that's
I
not
hope
the.
that they appreciate that.
Well, I think they have the what is it, pistachio nuts are a big product from the Central Coast, and they
Yeah,
take a hell of a lot of water to do.
I agree.
Why the hell
I
don't
agree.
we get another crop that doesn't require that much water and import
Well, once again,
pistachios?
you ever consume pistachios or almonds? If you do, then you're part of the problem. So,
Well, you were talking about personal responsibility. I mean, the
yeah,
things I remember, I mean, this is going back to when I was in school,
yeah,
and you had a big test coming up. And what you did, or initially I remember, I said, oh God, I hope, you pray to God that the test is easy and you know everything.
mhm,
And then I got to a certain point, I forget whether it was in junior high school, or college. I said, hey, if there's a God, why is he going to help me with the test? The only way for me to make sure that to get a good mark on the test is study my ass off.
mhm.
And that's when I came up the two the Ten Commandments, I don't have part of the Ten Commandments, but there are two things that I try to live by.
Yep.
Number one, God helps those who help themselves.
Thank you.
You have to work.
Yes,
God is not going to help you. I mean, even if he could, and even if there was a God. And number two, do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
absolutely.
Treat everyone.
God is in your hands. God is in your hands.
Treat everyone as as you would want them to treat you.
Absolutely.
And you live by that.
It was funny. I got an opportunity. I had an opportunity to go. I went to a community college first for 3 years because I couldn't afford to go anyplace else. And I was fortunate enough to be able to find a loan to be able to go to the University of Southern California, where I wanted to study journalism. And I remember getting my first, I completed the first semester, and I did okay. I got grades, I got the mail, came back to my little apartment, sat down, and I opened up the mail, and there were my grades. And my grades, I had like 1A and a couple of B's and a couple of C's and what have you. And, barely passed on a couple of classes. And I looked at it, well, gee, okay, I did okay. I mean, it was my first semester. And I mean, after all, I mean, this is a big city and I'm all by myself. And geez, I know, a lot of pressure on me and all of that. Then I opened up the next piece of mail, which was my tuition bill. And I remember opening it up and my jaw dropped. And I looked at the amount of money I was going to be paying for my education, which I was paying for. And I looked at my grades and suddenly I made the connection. My epiphany was I have personal responsibility to make sure that these grades reflect this price. From that point on, I got straight A's. I was able to graduate Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude, and I understood then the true value of an education, the true value of the money that I personally was spending. And I paid back every single cent of that loan. Thank heavens I was able to do it. But along those same lines, in terms of having an epiphany of values and what's important to you and all of those things, I do find it very interesting that a lot of people simply say the only way you get ahead is in college. One of the things that I have noticed here in South Carolina is that you don't necessarily need to go to college to have a great, great life. There are technical schools or technical colleges, and just because you're a quote unquote truck driver doesn't mean that you're any less important than a nuclear scientist, for heaven's sakes. So I find it fascinating because, for example, they can't find enough truck drivers now to be able to deliver the gasoline. And that's one of the reasons that gasoline prices are going up. So is that truck driver not as valuable as a nuclear scientist? No, I would say maybe the truck driver is perhaps maybe a little bit more important than that.
This goes back to if the employers would pay decent wages, they would have more people applying for jobs. Because I think it was the restaurants, or there was some industry recently where they couldn't find people, and then to work, but they raised the raises, they raised the minimum wage, and all of a sudden people were applying for the job.
And I think that's great because, once again, we as employees, even myself, as I had my own business, we need to recognize the value of good, solid labor. The one thing that's also interesting about the truck driver situation, just as a sidebar, apparently there is a federal regulation that says that individuals, even if they have a commercial driver's license, which requires a tremendous amount of study and training, those individuals who are age 18 to age 21 cannot drive the trucks across state lines or drive a truck that has any material that has been driven across state lines, specifically gasoline. So there's now a law on the books to reverse that ridiculous requirement, because once again, the whole licensing process to become a commercial driver, that license is quite stringent, extremely stringent. So once again, you and I have a difference of opinion in terms of government regulation. The government needs to get out of the way, for heaven's sakes. If there's an issue, take care of it when the issue takes place, but don't put artificial limitations, especially with this particular labor market.
Well, I don't know about the gasoline specifically, but I know there should be regulations of what type of materials can be transported interstate. I mean, like if it's nuclear waste, should they go cross country?
Well, that's a whole different issue than gasoline. I'm talking about gasoline prices.
Again, there are certain regulations, and as far as I can't be specific about, but I know truck drivers, especially cross-country truck drivers, were paid a hell of a lot of money. That was a good job.
Yeah. It was funny because when Fish, my husband, and I came across country, we came on Interstate 40. I think I've already told this story before. Yeah. But I was really surprised, I wasn't surprised. I'm not stupid about this. I wasn't surprised, but it was fascinating to see the ratio of cars versus trucks. And you truly realize how important truckers are to getting our supply lines back in place. For every car, that would be us. We had a rental truck, and then we had a regular small car, a little Honda Element. And for the two of our cars, there was probably a ratio of 20 trucks, 20 to 25 trucks to our two little cars. And I just found that fascinating. You could see the entire bloodstream of products and supplies coming across Interstate 40. It was absolutely
Oh,
completely fascinating.
yeah,
And the truckers were nice because they kept going, yeah, yeah. They
yeah.
kept giving us the,
Well, I
the
thought,
honking horn.
well, I thought you were Clint Eastwood and he was Clint Eastwood and his, and then you were Sally Fields or something.
Well, that or else Thelma and Louise, but we
Thelma
didn't
and
we
Louise.
didn't go over the cliff. So
But no, that's I mean that's a heartbeat of commerce. The
yeah,
trucks and the trains. I mean
it
they're
is.
sort of the arteries and veins of how goods are transported.
It
But
is.
I
It,
remember when I went cross country, what
mhm.
I do my stop where I would go to a diner where I saw a lot of trucks parked
Yes.
because
So smart.
you knew they had good food, but what they had also is they had these recreational rooms for
Hmm.
the truck drivers to rest.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
they had like pool tables,
Mhm.
color TV,
Yep.
movies. What they
Yep.
didn't charge for was free. As
So
long
smart.
as long as a truck driver would come and eat there,
Yeah.
and you could take a shower for free.
Yep.
And of course, they had rooms if you want to stay over, because the big thing was the truck drivers have to log their time. They can't drive over a certain amount of hours.
You bet.
And a lot of the accidents, in fact, just recently I was reading an article where a lot of accidents, not by truck drivers, by everybody,
Hmm.
are drivers falling asleep on the road.
That makes sense.
And I know when I drove cross country, following the roads were almost hypnotic
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I mean there were certain roads that were straight for going through the Highway 10
Hmm.
from California to Florida.
Oh
They
yeah.
were straight.
Oh
And if I
yeah.
would drive at night,
Hmm.
it was almost hypnotic.
Hmm.
Luckily there were three drivers in the car,
Hmm.
but
But we
otherwise,
had some very good news today in terms of the jobless rate. Apparently, in excess of 871,000 new jobs were created. So the unemployment rate is now down to 5.7%.
I haven't heard that.
Job participation is still a little stagnant, sitting at about 61.1%. But it does indicate the fact that people are starting to go back to work. There are still 9.2 million jobs that are open. And it's very interesting because what you hear on the MSNBCs and CNNs is that these are low paying jobs. No, 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 no. A lot of them are very high paying jobs. And what will be interesting is the way that employees are now going to be working for their employers, whether it's going to be hybrid, part of the time at home, or all the time in the office. Now, I know that some of the big banks are now saying you've got to come into the office, period, end of story. But there are some other entities that are saying, oh, it's fine, we'll do a hybrid. We'll do half inside the office and half outside. But it'll be interesting to see how this country comes together. And I am so happy I'm wearing my red, white, and blue because, of course, this being July the
So I
4th,
thought, yeah,
coming
well,
up on Sunday.
my red
There you
shirt.
go. There you go. And I love, one of my favorite holidays has got to be July 4th. One of my best memories of July 4th was back in 1976 when the boyfriend at the time that we decided to go on a 6-week camping trip, and we ended up in, of all places, Rogue River in Oregon, and I decided to go down the Rogue River on one of these blow up pontoon boats, which it's like a kayak, all right, but it's not hard sided. It's a blow up kayak,
Mm.
what have you. And I decided to go on down, and it was something running those rapids. I mean, these rapids were 10 feet tall over the top of me, for heaven's sakes. But it was a great adventure. And of course, 1776 to 1976, we were at the 200th anniversary. And now, well, I can't do my math fast enough, but it'll be a great celebration. I think a lot of people are happy to be out and about
Yeah,
and being able
yeah,
to
it's
meet
people
people.
happy to be out and about. But what I have, it's going back, which I never did my story, why I have this background,
Yeah.
is we were talking yesterday or the other day on the show about the
Uh-huh.
heat
Yes.
and where would we move to avoid the heat. And then
Ah.
and then Maxine sent me an article that every place in the world is going to exhibit, is going to be triple digits. I mean, even like in Canada, there was it was like a part of British Columbia. It was like
Mhm.
117 degrees. I haven't heard how Alaska is doing. I'm just wondering how the Antarctic is doing in Alaska, because that's where all the ice is melting.
course,
And I'm just wondering, because people, for some reason, isn't taking global warming or weather conditions changing. I mean, even you with, the fossil fuel, which is basically, part of the cause. I mean, again, you can't control other countries, but you can control our country.
of
Is
course.
there a way? Why aren't all the governments and everybody saying, let's get rid of fossil fuel? Why are they? Why is there disagreement? Why is there, whether it be Republican or Democrat? Why isn't everybody behind this? Let's get rid of the fossil fuel and get
Well,
alternative.
I think the problem at this point right now is that we need to be able to ease ourselves into a situation where we're not giving up our energy independence. We finally have energy independence, and I think that's critical. That means that we don't have to go by our enemies in terms of trying to get, as we did in the 1970s when we had the oil embargoes and the
Yeah, yeah.
unbelievable gas lines and what have you. Now, the other issue that I have is I would love to have an electric car. I don't have a problem having an electric car, but I guess what I don't understand is when electric car is basically costing 40, 60, 80, $120,000. That's a lot of money to be
Yeah, but
paying for a
but
car.
that's
But
good.
then, but
That,
not even that. Problem is, then you plug it into your electric system, and your electrical system has to be derived from something. Is it going to be from water? Is it going to be
solar,
from what?
solar,
Well, solar also produces
windmill.
a tremendous amount of heavy metals and a tremendous amount of overall waste. So, I mean, I would love to go solar because we've looked into it here in South Carolina. But if you do some of the research into it, a tremendous amount of waste and heavy metal waste would go into landfills. And once again, there you are, we're boxed in again.
So
So
maybe the answer is there's no answer.
there's got to be an answer.
Well, yeah, the answer is
Don't be funny. Don't be
no, no, no.
facetious.
You see behind me all the stars.
Yes, they're
Each,
lovely.
each of those stars has its own solar system, has its
Yes,
own planet.
yes.
Maybe
You're not leaving, Malcolm. You're
we have to
staying right
leave.
here. You're not leaving. You're staying right here.
Maybe that's the answer. Maybe the answer is, how old is the world? Our Earth. I don't
Old
know.
enough.
It's billions of years older than me. I mean, there's
Old
not much.
enough.
But maybe the answer is that man wasn't meant to stay on the Earth. Maybe it's like maybe we will disappear like the dinosaur.
I hope not.
I mean, why is it not conceivable? I mean, we can't see ourselves, well, I can't see myself dying. I don't know. I don't necessarily believe in God and a hereafter, but I can't see nothingness. I can't. That almost frightens me. That if I die, I'm going to not wake up. I'll know nothing. There will be completely blank. But why isn't it conceivable that that might happen to the Earth and all the humanity?
Well, they say that, but I think in the meantime, I think it's important that we be good stewards of our world. And you and I agree on a lot of things, disagree on a lot of things. I guess I'm positioned as being a conservative, although I am, very much an independent in terms of my voting and what have you. But such things as when we got here, there was a tremendous amount of erosion that was going on in the backyard. So what did we end up doing? Well, we ended up putting together a berm, which when we have tremendous amounts of rain, and so far we're in the middle of the year, we've had 2 feet of rain. I know you haven't had much in California, but that's a typical amount for South Carolina. And we put together a system, an irrigation system, whereby we can use the rainwater to be able to water the plants, but any excess goes actually down the street, so it doesn't now erode away the beautiful backyard that we've now put together. And a lot of people would laugh. In fact, it was funny because some of the South Carolinians that are our neighbors come by and said, well, you're not from around here, are you? I said, no, but I think it's important that we kind of preserve and make sure we don't erode our backyard, for crying out loud.
Well, that's what actually they do that. I forget where it's Denmark or Norway, where they have, when it rains, they have I don't know, reservoirs or which collects the rainwater. I mean, the problem is with the California is when it rains, all the water goes down the road and takes all the garbage with it, and it goes into the ocean to pollute the ocean with all the the trash.
Well,
But there's no way of saving the water.
there was supposed to be a complete reservoir system. I know when I was a news reporter back there in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, we were trying to put together some sort of a reservoir system that would go ahead and save all of this precious water. Like I said, for us, it's been very, it's been hard work, but it's been good work to be able to put together rain barrels, and we collect the water. And it's remarkable how the plants react to the rainwater versus regular drinking water. It's remarkable.
Well,
So,
as you said it, what you believe in is individual responsibility. But
yeah.
the point is, not everybody does that. Not everybody, would conserve water. I know I feel guilty almost when I'm taking a shower. The water, I feel guilty when I'm using a paper tissue. When I see something, the plastic products, I say, oh my God, what's going to happen to it?
But you know what? Each and every little instance where you don't use a plastic bottle, where you don't necessarily use a tissue, maybe you use a cloth that you then put into the washing machine and wash it separately or by hand. Each one of those little actions, they do all add up. They truly do.
Right.
And I know it sounds horrible, but it makes a difference. You as an individual can make a difference.
We just have to have enough people do it. That's a problem. Enough people don't do it. Enough people say, what difference does it make what I do? They say, oh yeah, they say, yeah, what does it make what I do? We have to get China or India or Russia to, no, we got to get ourselves first. Let's get
I think we could be a little bit more firm with China, although the latest Hunter Biden photograph shows our vice president surrounded by Hunter Biden and all of his business associates. Unfortunately, we had a vice president who says, I never spoke a word to my son about his business dealings. So
yeah, but why are you bringing that up now? Yeah, can I
bring it up only because I scratch my head and say, if you were involved, just admit the fact you were involved. If you weren't involved, don't lie.
Right, I'll bring up the Senate now. Oh, yeah, there was no January 6th thing. It was only people visiting the Capitol.
Well, I got to tell you, they've got 500 people arrested, and they better damn well make sure that they get prosecuted, which I believe they are getting prosecuted. So it would be kind of nice if they would maybe hurry up a little bit.
Okay, by the way, before we leave, which our half hour was up, believe it or not, if you heard the beeping.
I did.
What do you think the charges against the Trump organization, the indictments?
Well, after 3 years, they weren't able to find a whole heck of a lot, but it only takes a small violation of the law to cause some real problems. I don't think, Trump is not a stupid man, and I don't think he hired stupid people. I do believe that if there was a violation, then once again, it should be followed all the way. Okay. But I don't know. I don't know enough about the charges. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't have something a little less esoteric, a little less, a little bit more blatant in terms of a violation. But I guess that's what they basically have. And if there was a violation, then doggone it, it should be pursued. What do you think about Bill? What do you think about the situation with Bill Cosby being released?
Legally, it's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Morally, it's not correct. I don't know what you do about it. If we're a country of law, they've made the right decision because they promised him, that it's the Fifth Amendment. You can't be prosecuted. You can't say things that would incriminate yourselves. And they promised him in the civil suit. In the civil suit. If he could have claimed the Fifth Amendment, that he can't incriminate himself. But they said, okay, we're not going to incriminate you if you tell us the truth now. So he couldn't claim the Fifth because there was no penalty. Then they got him. So technically, they're right. Morally, forget it. Speaking about that, which I read something interesting, which one of my favorite comedians.
What's that?
I have a call. One of my favorite comedians.
You need to get that if that is it could be President Biden. So.
No, I think it's Trump. He wants him
Oh,
aid
don't
legally.
listen. I'm on the line with you, for heaven's sakes. Forget it.
Yeah, but what was it? Oh, there's going to be a documentary on one of my favorite comedians, Dick Gregory.
I love Dick Gregory.
It's going to be
Oh
on Showtime at 9 o'clock. I guess that would be July
Really?
4th.
Thank you.
It's a doc on Dick Gregory because he was brilliant.
Yes.
I mean, he was one of the original, political satirists.
Well, the other one that I want you to watch, and I've started to watch it now, and I didn't like it at first, but I've grown to like the series Blackish. It's very funny.
Yeah, I'm not
Have you
into it.
have you
I've
seen it?
Yeah, I've seen parts
Have you
of it.
watched
Yeah.
it? Well, what do you think?
It's okay. It's
Oh.
for some reason. If you want a good series, which I just had the first season, it's called Hacks.
Oh, really? Where's it on?
With Gene Smart. I'm not sure. It's either Netflix or Hulu.
Jean Smart, wasn't she with Designing Women?
She's Designing Women, and she's with. She has two series now. She has one, Mayor of Easttown, and she plays two totally different roles.
Oh, interesting.
And this one, and this role she plays a sort of like a Joan Riverish type of comedian.
Wonderful.
And she's she's ultra wealthy, and she does a show for 20 years in Las Vegas, and it's about her. Like her, they're trying to ease her out and get new comedians in, and she's using material that she uses years ago. And there's this young 20-ish writer who is, they have the same agent who, she was thrown off of one of her sitcoms, and they get together, and it's sort of them growing with each other.
I like it, and it's called Hacks.
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 And what channel is it on?
Again, it's either Hulu or Netflix or one of them.
Perfect. I love it.
It's one of them we have to pay for.
I want to have comedy come back. Okay. I like satire. I want to be able to laugh.
And also Mayor of Easttown.
Mayor of Easttown. I will make sure I will watch it.
Yeah, and that's a totally different thing. It's like a detective type thing.
Oh, I love it.
Anyway, we have to say goodbye.
Oh.
We don't have to. We could talk the whole day.
Well, have a good 4th of July.
But I have to check my rocket ship.
Oh, well, you beat Bezos and you beat everybody.
I'm talking to him. I might be. He's gonna have a section, a senior citizen section.
That's right. You paid your $23 million. Yeah, I knew it.
And by the way, I might have you come along with me. You and Fish.
Oh, that would be great.
We need another couple.
That's perfect.
Anyway,
well, have a good 4th, okay?
You have a good 4th, and I'll see you
next week.
Next Friday.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.